What famous person has done something incredibly heinous, but has often been overlooked? Marcus Alonso, left back for Chelsea FC, was drink driving and got his passenger killed. Should have gone to prison. Paid 61,000 and is often brushed under the rug. Famed musician John Phillips of the 60s folk rock group Mamas and Papas supposedly had a 10-year incestuous relationship with his actress daughter, Mackenzie Phillips. He also shot her up for the first time when she was like 12 and gave her multiple other drugs. Didn't he also have her in a boarding school in Europe and simply stop paying the bills and forget about her? Most Americans probably won't know the name Jimmy Savile, but what he got away with for decades is absolutely awful. Countless sexual assaults against people, mostly children, all the way up to the elderly. Worse than that, his behavior was covered up by element within the BBC as he was employed by them. He's dead now, but he got away with it his whole life. Likely won thousands of victims. Edit. Thanks for Snack Mystery Person. For those that haven't heard of him, what makes his crime so heinous was that Savile's whole thing was helping kids. His TV show, Jim'll Fix It, was based around making kids' dreams come true. He was absolutely adored by British and Irish kids in the 80s. This, coupled with raising money for children's charities, gave him massive access to children in hospitals and care homes. I'm not religious, but I chose to believe that this particular ducker is burning in hell. Alex Trebek shaved off his mustache with no regard for anyone's feelings about it. Edit. Typo. Cut him some slack. It was probably due a psychological breakdown brought on by learning what Sean Connery had done to his mother. Alison Mack, of Smallville fame, was a member of the NXIVM cult and was personally responsible for human trafficking, sexual assault, branding, and literally making other women sexual slaves of the guru. She's currently under house arrest awaiting sentencing. Klaus Kinski was a violent lunatic who also raped his own daughter. The number of professional athletes who have raped/abused people and animals/committed heinous crimes with impunity is too long to list. I was wondering when someone would mention Alison Mack. She is ducked up. Coco Chanel was a big supporter of the Nazi Party. Coco Chanel was a member, not just a supporter, and went into hiding following the war before re-emerging later to rebuild her empire. She also fired her entire staff when they demanded worker rights. No one talks about this ever. During the filming of the Twilight Zone movie, John Landis demanded a scene be shot in the middle of the night and beyond the amount of time that child actors are allowed to work, paid off their parents in cash from his own pocket. During the scene there were big pyro effects and a helicopter pilot hovering dangerously low. The pilot was trying to keep safe, but Landis kept telling him to get lower. Pyro blast damaged the tail rotor of the helicopter, which lost control and crashed, decapitating an actor and one of the children. The second child was crushed to death. Edit. My mistake. The passengers in the helicopter were not killed. Landis said the worst thing about the whole incident is that it affected his career, which it barely did. At that. Boy George. Man handcuffed an escort to a wall and beat them with a metal chain. This is what I was going to come in and add. It goes beyond that. 2. He had a guy chained to the wall and was about to sexually torture him with objects, but the guy managed to break free and escape. This wasn't rough play. It was attempted straight up gassy shit. He was just incompetent at it and got a slap on the wrist. At least he was actually penalized for it. One of the more bizarre aspects of the gassy case, like any of it wasn't bizarre, but you know what I mean, was that he flat out kidnapped 2 guys whom he raped and tortured and then released for whatever reason. One guy was B. I'm not sure about the other one, but the point is that they were kidnapped, raped, and tortured so badly they were hospitalized, and they identified Gassy. Cop's reaction? Interview him and accept his explanation that it was consensual slave sex. Case dropped. Lol gaze. Meanwhile, nobody's even bothered to check his past convictions or figured out that this is the same guy who's had several teen employees up and vanish. John Stamos admitted in Jane magazine to tricking a girl into having sex with his friend. He bragged that he started making out with this girl in a dark room, got up to brush his teeth, and then let his friend go in and have sex with her. No one mentions it. Some dirtbags just get a pass, I guess. What the duck? Tiger was banging a 16-year Jenna Spawn and didn't care who knew about it. I remember watching the interviews and he didn't give a shit she was 16. It's crazy how many famous people like young girls. Lol, he wrote a whole song about it. Chris Benoit is more known for the circumstances of his death. Long story short, he's a wrestler. Received too much chair shots to the head in his career. Developed the brain of a 80-plus-year-old man at barely 40. Had a breakdown and killed his wife, his son and then himself. Once they learned this, WWE tried to basically bury him and act like he never existed despite the fact that he was an enormous main eventer back then. Everyone is aware of this, and it's often debated whether Benoit is a victim or not. But then you have Jimmy Snuka over there who killed his girlfriend in cold blood for seemingly no reasons, and this Methodica is in the Hall of Fame and no one seems to care. Karl Malone, ex-NBA player, impregnated a 13-year-old girl while he was 20 in college. Did not have a relationship with the kid. Alice Walton, heiress of the Walmart fortune, isn't a good driver. Walton has been involved in multiple automobile accidents, one of them fatal. She lost control of a rented Jeep during a 1983 Thanksgiving family reunion near Acapulco and plunged into a ravine, shattering her leg. She was airlifted out of Mexico and underwent more than 24 surgeries. She suffers lingering pain from her injuries. In April 1989, she struck and killed 50-year-old Alita Hardin, who had stepped onto a road in Fayetteville, Arkansas. Witnesses stated that Walton was speeding at the time, but no charges were filed. In 1998, she hit a gas meter while driving under the influence of alcohol. She paid a $925 fine. This is why I'm so in favor of scaling fines to income. What is $925 to someone like this? 5 minutes of work, less. I'd like to take a moment to point out that old Pee Wee Herman did was masturbate in a porn theater. So, duck your smug righteousness. Sarasota, Florida. According to Wikipedia, he was convicted of having child pornography several years later. However, the photos were nudes of teens that were part of a 17,000-piece vintage gay erotica collection and were purchased at auction as part of a lot that the actor may not have even gone through. As a collector of weird shit who occasionally purchases lots without fully inspecting every piece, I feel like that could actually be true. I mean, if you buy a 17,000-piece collection, I don't really expect that you've looked at all of them either. I mean, if you had assembled the collection, I'd question it a lot more. But bought it, then you probably found pieces you liked and didn't get through it all. Ian Watkins, lead singer of Lost Prophets, currently serving lots and lots of time at Her Majesty's pleasure for assorted child sex offenses, including trying to arrange something so despicable that I can't type the words. I used to love their music. Now I just feel sick when I think about it. Scrolled specifically for this one. He was going to rape a 1-year-old baby girl. Like the baby's mother was all for it. Also distributed child porn. Completely ignoring the morality standpoint. How the duck would that even physically work? Was the mother just kind of okay with him killing her child? Boy George. He captured and tortured someone. Chained him in his room. I believe he only served a short sentence. 4 months according to Wikipedia, and then a reality show tried to hire him while he was still on parole, but the court denied the request to be on TV because it would undermine people's confidence in the justice system. Steven Seagal is a serial rapist and a fraud. I recommend the Behind the Bastards podcast episode about him. As a person in the film industry, it is well known that Steven Seagal also beats the living shit out of stunt guys for real. In the movie Under Siege, he TKOs like 4 guys, throwing them into the wall, and kept saying, "Get me another one." I got from that, he is not a good person. If it helps, I just read Seagal's page, and apparently, when he was a stunt coordinator for Out for Justice, he claimed his Aikido training made him immune to being choked unconscious. Well, one stuntman, Gene LaBelle, took him up on that. Not only did Seagal lose consciousness, but he also shit his pants. Then he tried to call LaBelle a call Ronda Rousey, who was trained by Lebel, reportedly declared if Siegel says anything bad about Gene to my face, I'd make him crap his pants a second time. Apostrophe. When he was 51, pedophile actor Doug Hutchinson lost The Green Mile, married 16-year-old Courtney Stoughton whose piece of shit parents signed off on it. I feel bad for her. She's reappeared lately looking very healthy and explaining how badly she was groomed by him and how he took advantage of her. I think she just wanted to get out of Ocean Shores so badly and did whatever she thought she needed to do. Ted Kennedy, brother to John F. Kennedy, drove his car off a bridge and left a woman in it to die. Went home, got some sleep, and called police in the morning. No charges. Served in the US Senate until he died. Jared Leto has a fringe group of young women follow him around and refer to him as a leader. His hair is long and flowing. Wears some long white smocks. Something is brewing with that. His antics on the set of Suicide Squad are also disgusting. Harassment both sexual and non-sexual. And he claims it was all just to be method and get in character. And for what? That which is easily the lowest regarded Joker performance in history. Cesar Romero, Mark Hamill, Jack Nicholson, Heath Ledger, Joaquin Phoenix, Cameron Monaghan, Kevin Michael Richardson, Troy Baker, John DiMaggio, Zach Galifianakis, Alan Tudyk. All these people have at least been entertaining. Some have been considered masterful and iconic villain portrayals. And Leto was just a goddamn pizza cutter or legend, no point. I don't know how overlooked this is, but Kevin Spacey and the fact that 4 witnesses have died who were supposed to testify against him in his sexual assault case. That's just shady. No wonder he was so good in House of Cards. Steven Tyler got custody of his 14-year-old girlfriend so she could go on tour with Aerosmith and be together. Her parents consented. Wow, that's some real nasty shit. When you're a celebrity, they let you do it. Jimmy Savile. He got away with raping kids his whole life and everything only came out once he died. Got an OB as well whilst he was alive. All whilst abusing kids. The sad part is that the reputation was already there. People in the back offices of the BBC knew. The people who worked with him knew. Even some of the hospital and charity staff knew. But individually nobody felt like they could come forward because they wouldn't be believed and the charities might be shut down. Steve Jobs denied his own daughter for years. In the early 90s, Tom and Rosine Arnold financed a large-scale meth operation in southeast Iowa that ran through Tom's brother-in-law's horse breeding operation. This one doesn't get a lot of publicity, but to the locals, it's just a known fact. Edit, didn't expect this to blow up. Some background information. At the height of their celebrity, Tom and Rosine spent nearly every weekend in Wapello County, Iowa with his brother-in-law Floyd, who was sentenced to 50+ years in federal prison for meth. Tom and Rosine, at the time of the bust, were building a mansion in Eldon, Iowa. Eldon, Ducking, Iowa. Anyone from that area knows the only thing in Eldon is and was meth. My personal sources on this are known associates that did various amounts of time from the bust at Floyd's ranch, his neighbors, and a litany of people who partied with the group in the early 90s. It's assumed by most of those that Tom and Rosine are the unnamed informants in Floyd's deposition. They stopped building the mansion and just left it abandoned at that time. Rosine has never been back. This comment just gets weirder and weirder with each sentence. Honestly though, I'd watch the Duck Out Tavis documentary, Breaking Bar. Just everyone that's with the Church of Scientology, an organization known for their shitty and psychotic practices. From Tom Cruise to John Travolta, they're all ignored because they're A-list actors, even though they are involved in a goddamn cult. Where's Shelley? David? Yee. Elizabeth Moss is a major one as well. So many people seem shocked to find out that she's a Scientologist. Yeah, I stopped watching Handmaid's Tale when I found out she's related to Danny Masterson, another cult member and rapist. It killed me to find out Jason Lee was a Scientologist. I loved My Name is Earl. Anision. For grooming kids and abusing multiple people of all ages. He's recently been verified by Twitch. I'm so disgusted and furious. No one should ever forget what he did. Edit, if anyone wants to do something about getting this guy off Twitch, Mass report him. It's the best way I know of to get rid of this guy without stepping on investigators' toes on this one. His spouse also participated in grooming children after he was groomed by an Asian. Yes, victim turned abuser. My guess is wanting to make others feel as helpless as he/she felt, so that others can feel just like they did. I really don't understand how Andy Dick hasn't been cancelled/metoed. He has been waving his dick where it doesn't belong and touching people inappropriately for 30 years. This isn't even a secret. I guess people just don't think about Andy Dick. What's there to cancel? Andy Dick hasn't been relevant for more than a decade. We've also known about how shitty he is since the 90s, before cancel culture as we know it today existed. Elvis Presley met and pursued his future wife, Priscilla, when she was 14 and he was 24. But supposedly she remained a virgin until their wedding. But it wasn't because he had virtuous sensibilities towards her. He just wanted his wife to be a virgin, so it was in a sense more of an ego and kink thing. Reportedly he slept with many underage girls, and Lisa Mary was born 9 months to the day from her parents' wedding date. Poor Priscilla. Emma Roberts beat the shit out of Evan Peters. Most rockstars from the 70s lol. The majority of them were basically pedophiles. Ted Nugent wrote songs about having sex with underage girls. One 13-year-old girl wound up with both David Bowie and Jimmy Page. It's insane how much they got away with. One of Kiss's songs, Christine 16, has this line: "I don't usually say things like this to girls your age, but when I saw you coming out of school that day I knew. I've got to have you. I've got to have you." Literally sounding like a pervert who spends all day creeping around the high school. Brendan Small and Tommy Blatchell lampooned this in their show. Metalocalypse had a washed up 80s glam rock star who was famous for a song about a 14-year-old. Jimmy Page, Led Zeppelin's guitarist, had a 14-year-old girlfriend and he knew exactly what he was doing. While it's not overlooked anymore, damn near 30 years ago now, Kelly wrote "Age Ain't Nothing But a Number" for 15-year-old Aaliyah, then married her. Remember the Panama Papers? Yep, they are still doing it. There's no consequence. Why would they stop doing it? Melissa Benoist's first husband almost blinded her, so she's been doing the Supergirl TV show for a while now. But a few years back news came out that she had hurt her eye. She said she had tripped or something, had hurt herself at home. Nope. Her first husband threw his phone at her in a fit of rage, hit her in the eye, and she almost lost her sight. Glad she left that psycho. Yeah, that whole story is so ducked up. And she even told that story on Fallon, and she had to frame herself as a klutz and laugh along. They took the interview off of YouTube, but when the story came out, her fans connected the dots on it. Her eye is permanently damaged from that. So glad she got away from him. Literally anything Chris Brown has ever done fits here. Vince Neil killed the drummer from Hanoi Rocks in a drunk driving crash and got off with 0 prison time. Remember that time in 2015 an Olympic gold medalist killed someone with their car? I miss the days when they used to just hit people in the knee with a bat. Those were the good old days. Please click subscribe if you enjoyed this video.